All right, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Sudoku with Tsvetii. I'm your host, as always, Tsvetii. Hope you're doing well, and if not, hopefully I can make your day just a little bit better. We do have another medium Sudoku coming in for you today, and it has been a good day. It has been a good day. And one of the things I like to do here on the Sudoku with Tsvetii YouTube channel is I like to practice what I preach. And I have been preaching a lot of positive things recently, and I've been trying to work on myself in several different ways. And I've recently been reading through a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. And of course, from what I've heard about it, it is mostly about it. Of course, it is mostly about tennis, but there are other lessons that can be grabbed from it that can be important for really any facet of life. Of course, I'm not finished with the book already, but there are a couple notes that I can already take with me, and that is separating yourself from your work. And not necessarily in a drab or negative way. I'm meaning mostly in the ability to not let your ego get involved with things, and specifically not in a way of judging yourself. And that is so critical and so important, especially when you're trying to do something new or to make a change. It is so difficult because we oftentimes, from our childhoods and other things going on in our lives, we kind of lose sight and kind of are our own worst enemy in that regard, where we will argue and bicker with ourselves and get in our own heads about things and saying that we, for example, like we suck at something, even though we haven't really tried. Or we give up before we even try, and that makes it dead on arrival. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts. And so I think that is something I have tried recently, is trying to be a little bit gentler with myself. I'm trying to be a little bit more understanding and trying to be a little bit less judgmental, and I believe that was the word in the book, less just judgmental of what I do, but having the wherewithal to acknowledge the positivity that I am doing, having the wherewithal to congratulate myself for trying something, and having the reward for doing something either be planned ahead of time or be given up front, so that the brain will signal to itself that the pain is not necessarily the reward, of course, but the reward comes before the pain. We know 5 and 6 both have to be over there. We know 5 and 6 could be over there. Okay. But what I mean by that is that... Oops. I don't know why I was thinking about putting a 2 over there. Oh, we have a problem over here. All right, let's back up a little bit. I think we're good at this point. But again, it really is focusing on completing the task and removing yourself from judging that task. For example, oops. So that does have to be a 7. That does have to be a 2. Okay. 2 cannot be here or here. But again, what I am trying to get at here is describing that when we focus on completing a task, not necessarily on how well that task is completed, from there we can look back with a reflection saying that we did in fact complete the task, and that is something to be proud of. And then from there you are able to layer it and come back to it with a different mindset. And that different mindset being more of an objective mindset than an emotional mindset. And so you are not going to be heavily judging yourself in an egotistical way, whether you say that you are great at something or that you suck at something. It's more like, hey, I need to work on this, this, and this. And sometimes, you know, in other ventures in life, it'll come through critique from a job or a place of work. It could possibly also come from, okay, 2 has to be there. So 2 has to be here. Okay, that is where we messed up. That is where we messed up. Okay. Yeah, that'll be 4 and 7, 4 and 7. But again, what I want to instill in you today, possibly, is that, as the old cliche goes, that 90% of success is showing up. And for example, this morning I woke up and I went to the gym, and although I didn't, you know, do any super heavy lifting or didn't, you know, jog 2 miles, I still got to the gym, and progress is progress no matter how small, as I have often preached. But what I want to get across in this spiel, as it were, of how important showing up is. And that is the hardest thing to do, is to show up. But from there, you'll be able to learn and be a little bit more positive, and be a little less, and be significantly less hard on yourself when it comes to things that you want to do. We do know 4 and 7 both have to be there, so that has to be our 6 and 4. Make that a 3. We already have 3s up there. 4 and 9, 4, 5, 9, 5 and 9, 5 and 9, 4 and 7. Perfect. Again, so the last thing I'll say before I start completely focusing and turning my attention more so to the Sudoku of today is taking the time to show up. Take the time to show up. And if you show up, you can learn. And if you learn, you can figure things out. And that is what I want to be the main takeaway of today's video, is show up and learn. All right, time to get into more so the Sudoku. We have been doing pretty well overall. We have been doing pretty well throughout the puzzle so far, so we can't complain too much. We do know 2 and 7 are both missing here, so we do know 2 and 7 will be there, which means our last number will be 9. So that'll be 2, 9. So that will be our 3, 2, and Why can this not be 9? That can be 9. So we will not. That could be a 4 as well. So we will not cast Errant Judgment on there, which means if that has to be 2 and 9, we will know that it will be our 5. Which will allow us to solve a little bit more of our puzzle. Not necessarily in the clear just yet. We do see that that will end up being our 3. And again, as we look back at this, we do see that 2 could be there or there. We are also missing a 4, which could be there or there. And then we are missing 2, 4, and 7, which can also be here or here. But if we recall, 4 and 7 are both over here. So that would lead us to our 9, 7, 4, 7. And then we will see 7 will have to be there. We will also see that this will be our 2, 4, 4, 2, 7, 2, 9, 2, 7. And just like that, we have completed another Sudoku. Thank you for watching. Take care. Stay safe. Catch you again next time. Goodbye.